It all began with a piece of land that had been in my family for generations. My grandfather bought it decades ago when the area was nothing but fields and gravel roads. 14 acres of open ground, a small creek running through the back, and a line of old oak trees that made the sunsets look golden. It wasn't just property, it was history. When he passed, that land came to me. I didn't see it as an investment or a way to get rich. I saw it as a promise I had to protect. I built my small cabin there, lived quietly, and paid the property taxes on time every single year. A few years later, the town started expanding. New neighborhoods were popping up everywhere and property values were climbing fast. Developers were buying land and the local homeowners association, the HOA, seemed to be behind every deal. I got letters in the mail offering to buy my land, but I always said no. I wasn't interested. The offers got bigger, then stopped. I thought that was the end of it. I had no idea what was coming. One morning, I woke up to the sound of heavy machinery. At first, I thought it was road work, but when I walked outside, I saw bulldozers on my property. They had already started tearing up the ground, digging trenches, and marking lots. There were construction crews everywhere, and bright orange flags lined the property like they owned it. I ran up to the foreman and asked what they were doing. He said they were building a new residential phase for the Lakeside Estates HOA, 96 homes, a park, and a clubhouse. I told him they were on my land. He laughed and said, "No, sir, this land belongs to Lakeside Estates now." I went home furious. I pulled out my deed, my tax receipts, every document I had. The property was still in my name. I called the county office, the HOA, and even the construction company. No one would take responsibility. Everyone kept passing the blame. No, but I was told to file a complaint and let the lawyers handle it. Weeks went by and nothing changed. The noise got louder. More houses started going up. The creek was filled in, my oak trees were gone, and my cabin was surrounded by foundations. I wanted to fight, but I realized something. They thought I was powerless, so I waited. I let them build. I watched them pour concrete, install plumbing, raise walls, and pave roads. I even watched the real estate signs go up. A new home starting at $399,000. Every time I saw one, I smiled a little, because I knew what they didn't. I knew that all those homes, all that work, all that money was sitting on land that didn't belong to them. My land. By the time they finished construction, there were families moving in, kids riding bikes, and mailboxes with shiny new numbers. The OA threw a big event celebrating the completion of the neighborhood. That same week, I drove downtown to the courthouse with my folder, the original deed, notarized, signed, and recorded decades ago. The clerk looked at it, then looked at the development map. The color drained from her face. She said, "They built all that on your property?" I nodded. She called her supervisor immediately. The court case didn't take long to gain attention. News outlets picked it up, calling it the HOA land grab gone wrong. The HOA tried to argue that I'd abandoned the property or that there had been a clerical error, but every record proved otherwise. The land was mine, always had been. Their lawyers tried to settle quietly, offering me a large sum, but I refused. I wanted it settled legally in front of a judge. When the day finally came, the courtroom was packed. The HOA lawyers came in with stacks of paperwork, but I only had one document, my deed. The judge reviewed everything carefully. Then, in less than 10 minutes, he made his decision. This property, he said, illegally belongs to the plaintiff. The defendants had no right to build on it. The HOA members looked stunned. Some of the homeowners in the courtroom started whispering, realizing what that meant. Those 96 houses were all built on land they didn't own. The HOA was now liable for millions of dollars in damages. The aftermath was chaos. Homeowners panicked. The OA board members resigned. The construction company filed lawsuits of their own. For months, lawyers tried to negotiate. Finally, they came to me with an offer I couldn't refuse. They wanted to buy the entire neighborhood, every inch of it, at 10 times the land's original value. I accept it. I sold them what they thought they already owned. When the deal closed, I drove back to the property one last time. The place looked nothing like the land I grew up on. The trees were gone, the creek buried, the fields replaced with concrete and driveways. But I felt a strange sense of peace. My grandfather used to say, "You can't stop progress, but you can make sure it pays you what it owes." He was right. Now, every month, I get checks from that same HOA. Property taxes, easement fees, and maintenance costs. The people who once ignored my calls now pay me to live where my family once walked. Sometimes I drive by and smile. The sign at the front of the neighborhood still reads a Lakeside Estates. But every brick, every blade of grass, every house on that street sits on my land, and they'll never forget it. That's how I turned the biggest mistake an HOA ever made into the smartest decision I ever didn't make. They built their dream on my property, and I turned it into my victory.